What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Vertical Thoughts, where we talk about climbing with climbers, on climbers, about and around climbers.
Yes.
That's the intro. Welcome back. It's me, your host. I'm here with my partner in climb. It's pretty good, right?
Did you think about that before this?
No.
He's
Just
really good.
Partner in crime came out of my mouth, and then I was like, wow.
How have I never thought of this?
Been handed the keys to the kingdom. We're gonna chat today. We're here with Brooke. Like I said, the previously mentioned partner in climb. Mm-hmm. We're here in the studio today. We're just gonna have a heart to heart. You know, you and I and her, and us, you and me, and also Brooke. We're gonna talk about the show. We're gonna talk about climbing. We're gonna talk about all kinds of stuff. Today is the first, hopefully, of many question and answer special episodes. So I take you, that's you, the listeners, your questions, and we're going to answer them here on the show anonymously this time. Let me know what you think about that. If I should be anonymous or if we should go like on a case by case, let me know what you think about that. But we know some people have some questions. We're 20 episodes deep. And, you know, with the first 20 episodes, we've gathered some attention, and with that attention comes curiosities. People are wondering some stuff. So hopefully we answer some of your questions today. If you think of any more, make sure you send them to us, and we'll use them in the next one. Hopefully we'll have many of these format kind of episodes. So we're just going to launch right into it here. So we have some questions. We're going to ignite some discussion using them. I'm not going to get to everyone's questions, I don't believe. So if you submitted some and you don't hear yours, I apologize, but just know that I will probably reach out to you personally and answer your question if I don't answer it today here on the show. But just the first one, and the thing that I think is most appropriate to start with is why did you start Vertical Thoughts? Or, you know, I guess what my inspiration was for starting the show. This is a common question that I get actually, both in person and online. And it was very spontaneous. One day I was just like, hey, I'm going to make a podcast. I do it.
Yeah, I just got a text when I was at work, and he said, we're starting a podcast. And I said, okay.
Yeah.
Is it about climbing?
Right. Of course. Right. It's a given. So we've always been, well, I should say I've always been big into content creation, always been creating something, video, audio, stuff like that. And we were doing climbing vlogs actually before we were doing this. And a lot of people don't know that. You can, on my personal YouTube channel, find those vlogs. If you're interested in watching those, check them out. And I don't know, we weren't really gathering any kind of success through that. At least I felt like it was kind of stagnating. And also it felt a little bit clunky to me. It felt like there was a lack of branding, kind of an appropriate name to put to ourselves as opposed to just using, us and our personalities and throwing them out there on the internet.
And also I feel like a lack of like depth into the climbing community.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was cool to watch a group of climbing friends, like hang out with each other and climb and grow. But using the podcast, like it just gets a lot deeper and you can talk about a lot more things, you know?
Yeah. It didn't really provide a platform to talk at all, mostly just climb. And we're by no means phenomenal rock climbers. So, there's only so many opportunities out there based on the algorithm to be successful on YouTube. If you're average, if you're average or slightly above average at something, it, in my opinion, based on my understanding of the way the algorithm works, it kind of lowers your chances at finding extreme success. I'm not saying that I'm here to achieve that same success, but I definitely felt like we could reach out to a much larger group of people with Vertical Thoughts. I felt like we could influence a much larger group of people, and we could bring, a bigger crowd together to kind of rally around a brand, one brand, one thing that we could all get behind, and we could call it ours, which is Vertical Thoughts. And that's where that was born. And I thought of the name in like 30 seconds, and I was going to come up with like 5 names and draw up 5 logos and then go from there. I came up with the name, and then I sketched out the logo, and I was like, done. The other 4, they suck. I don't even know what they are yet, but they cannot.
But they're not better than this.
Yeah, Vertical Thoughts is the best that it gets. And so it's kind of just on a whim. I wanted to produce something to reach out to the climbing community and connect the community and the culture. That's why we're here, the climbing culture. We're very deep into it and we love it. And I love the way the Vertical Thoughts so far has helped us really connect with the climbing culture.
Yeah. Something that I've and I didn't really see this coming, but something that I really enjoy about doing the podcast instead of the vlog, and of course we didn't really intend to do that, but we both work full time, so we can really only do one. But I like the podcast because I think it made you and I grow individually and just get deeper into the community. We were already climbing all the time. So doing the vlog is we were doing the same thing, but just with a camera there. And that's really cool. And it was nice to make stuff, and it was really fun to do. But doing the podcast kind of feels more like something we've added something to our life.
Right.
We got to meet a lot more people through it. And I've been able to learn a lot more, just by hearing what everybody else has to say, especially more experienced people coming on. Katie Jo Meyer's episode is one of my favorites. I loved to hear her perspective. And so I don't know. I'm just really glad that we're doing it.
Yeah, I would agree. There's a certain, the climbing vlog thing, it's cool. I had a lot of fun with it. I would love to do it more.
Yeah.
But I will say that it created some kind of weird, I don't know, almost exclusivity. When we would go to the climbing gym, we would, it would just be the people that were going to be in the video, and that would be it. Whereas
I agree.
With Vertical Thoughts, we go to our local climbing gym, and all of our local climbers and friends have something to be a part of. They all feel like they're in on this with us. And you are, if you're listening to this and you're part of it, you're here, you're part of it. You're part of the community. Vertical Thoughts is not me. Vertical Thoughts is not Brooke and I. Vertical Thoughts is not even this studio. Vertical Thoughts is the climbing community embodied and given a voice. That's what we're trying to do here. Will we ever be the voice for the rock climbing community? Maybe not. Maybe we just represent a minority or a microcosm of climbing as a whole. But that's fine. That's what we are. This is climbing by climbers and for climbers. None of this is exclusive. None of this is us. This isn't anything like that. Vertical Thoughts is a podcast and a community and a brand. Those are kind of my three main things with it. Were you going to say something?
I don't think so.
Cool. So that kind of channels me into my next question. Do you have future plans for the brand Vertical Thoughts? That's a good question. Yes, I do. From the day that I started Vertical Thoughts, I knew that the podcast was, in my opinion, just the beginning. I have always envisioned since the beginning of this, I've always envisioned that there would be much more, that there would be a lot more depth that'll come later as time and resources allow. Vertical Thoughts will never be just the podcast. As it progresses, you're going to notice Vertical Thoughts becoming a bigger and bigger entity. It's going to become video, audio, even climbing news. All climbing media will be centered with Vertical Thoughts. The podcast is just our way to get our foot in the door. I'm here as the host of this show to kind of open you up to the brand and familiarize you with it, and to bring together a community. And once that community is sizable enough that we can, really do some tangible stuff with it, there's going to be a lot. We're going to have a lot of fun. We've decided recently, and I announced this last episode, that we're going to be taking a break, and we're going to be using a seasonal format. So season 1 is going to end most likely with the end of October. November and December are going to be kind of our break, maybe January as well. Then after a couple, 2 to 3 month break, we're going to roll back into season 2. Those 3 months are going to give us time to regroup, to work on some other video content, work with some local brands that we've been interested in working with, and to bring you guys a lot more content, a lot more diverse content than just the podcast. Not that the podcast isn't great, and not that I think if we kept it as just a podcast, it would be unsuccessful or boring or anything like that. But I have big plans for the brand. I've always had big plans for me in the climbing industry. I've always wanted to move within the space of rock climbing and create something big. But Vertical Thoughts really has given me the platform. So lots of plans coming. I don't have specifics yet because it's still all being worked on. But yes, there's lots of future plans for Vertical Thoughts, and I'm excited to see where it goes. And I just want to thank everyone who's tuned in so far and who's become a fan. growing. We're growing. The community is growing, and it's really awesome to see. And thank you everyone who's reached out to us with DMs on Instagram and Facebook and even to me on Twitter, and just told me what you think of the show or how it's affected you. Because just to know that we are affecting some of you out there positively or influencing you positively in some way in terms of climbing is priceless to me. I mean, that's the whole reason we're here doing this, is we want to bring climbers together. We want to connect you. We want to make you want to climb more and better and more progressively and more aggressively. And just, we want to influence you as a climber to become more like a climber. I guess that's why we're here. There's nothing more I could ask for than that. So thank you for that. Stay tuned. There's lots more for Vertical Thoughts. The podcast is just the beginning. That's really all I have to say about that. This one kind of ties into that. 2 questions about roughly the same thing. One says, where can I buy some sick merch? So it's actually a better question than this person who asked it thought it was. And what it was bait for me to be able to plug our spread shop, which I appreciate. Don't get me wrong. However, the merchandise has been kind of a complicated beast lately. So when I started it, it was just a spread shop. That's shop.spreadshirt.com/vertical thoughts. You can still go on there and you can still get lots of cool stuff. We have tons of stuff for offer on there. However, that is not produced by us. That is a spread shop. So all of it is produced and sold by Spreadshirt. We receive a small, and I mean small, commission, but we never did it for the money. I did it just to get the apparel circulating. Then we started doing apparel locally, and then we started stocking, stuff here in the studio. And then I started mailing it out from here and did some like online sales stuff. So we're in a weird crossroads right now. Hopefully I would love soon, relatively, to have the infrastructure set up so that where you buy apparel is through us directly. That's the way I'd love to do it. There's a couple issues with that, one being quantity. We have to just buy a shit ton of apparel really to keep like a stock here enough to have like a website. And management. I don't have the time to manage, a clothing store worth of apparel. So that's tricky. It's a tricky financial adjustment as well. We have to plan on selling, at least as many as we purchase. And if we don't, then we're stuck with a bunch. So in that same vein, though, the next question is plans for more merch. Yes, we do have plans for more merch. And actually, as we speak, there is more merchandise in the works. And basically, the plan is one of those many different branches that Vertical Thoughts is gonna take and is gonna grow into is gonna be merchandise. I want to dive big into climbing merchandise and climbing related apparel. I think people really like that. We have a new design coming up soon. Actually, it's going to be debuting at the Hangar 18 vendor night, Hangar 18 Upland. That's this Wednesday, so 2 days from now, as you're listening to this on Monday. Well, this is going to air anyways on Monday, so if you're listening to it anytime before Wednesday the 24th, go to Hangar 18 Climbing Gym in Upland, California, and come see us at our booth. We're going to have some new shirts, new design. It's a really cool design. I think you guys will really like it a lot.
Yeah, we're actually super excited about it. Just before we started recording, we were looking at, the final design and what we had ordered and zooming up close on it. I don't know. We're just really excited about it. So we consulted a couple of our personal friends here locally, and they helped us just with opinions and, what color they thought was good and, choosing between this one or that. So they're really excited about it. They really like it. And I think you guys will too.
Yeah, they're really cool. They're much more, I would say, artistically processed, I guess is a way you would say that, or more artistically designed than the apparel we had or that we started with was just the logo, which I love the logo and people seem to, but the new shirt is not just the logo. It's a full redesign.
It's fun.
It is fun.
It's a fun
cool.
shirt.
It's Climber-y. So be on the lookout for those. Those are going to debut at the Hangar 18 vendor night, and then we're also going to be selling them just after then. So reach out to them or come get one. They're really cool. So, but that's going to happen periodically. I'm going to release basically, we have version 1, which just was the plain logo t-shirts. Now we're releasing, V2, which is kind of the more artistic design that's going to cater, I think, to a more widespread audience. There's going to be, a version 3, version 4. We're going to have series basically of apparel designs that are going to come out periodically. And then hopefully soon we'll have, kind of a full line available, which I think will be really cool. We're going to kind of release them in series, I think is the best way to do it, so that people who will want all of the designs don't have to buy them all at once. They can buy them as they come out. They have something to look forward to, a new shirt design that's not just the same as the one they have, that they can put up in their closet and have 2 different shirts, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, more merchandise always. Hopefully we'll always be coming out with more merchandise.
Yeah. And if you are available to come see us at the Hangar 18 vendor night on the 24th, we would absolutely love to meet and talk with you guys, whoever's able to come. Just come hang out with us. Buy
Ask
a shirt.
us more questions.
Don't buy a shirt. Whatever's, come say
Whatever
hi.
one's here. You look
That's why we're there. We want to see you guys.
You look like the kind of guy or girl that wants to buy a shirt. You look like a decision maker, So just make the decision. Just buy
I see it in your
buy a
eyes.
shirt. Yeah, just do it. Buy it now. Buy it. Buy 3. You want 3. Buy them. Anyways.
I'm the better salesman.
Whatever, man.
Also, when we talk about sales, Vertical Thoughts actually cost us a lot of money to run something that we love so much. So sales don't really make us money. They just help a little bit, so we're spending less.
Yeah, I guess it's a fair point to make.
Yeah.
We've talked about this on the show before. We are self-funded, so we do appreciate any kind of support, including buying our merch. We would never require, anyone to donate to the show or anything like that.
No way.
We don't offer any kind of exclusive membership. One of the questions I got actually was, are you going to have a Patreon in the future? And that's something I've thought about a lot. The show is expensive, or at least was expensive to start. Maintaining it is just a matter of, time, but also time costs money in the long run.
Mm-hmm.
It's opportunity costs. It's time that I could spend doing things that actually do tangibly make me money. But I'd rather be doing this. That's why we're here doing it. And we love it. So if we were here for money, we'd be doing something much, much different. So, however, with that being said, we do need ways to kind of give back to ourselves and to our close-knit community, all those who have helped us with Vertical Thoughts. So hopefully we're going to, and this was kind of one of the questions I got, so I don't want to go over it quite yet, but I would love to do just this. I would love to make money doing this and just do this. I talked about this with Geek Climber last episode, but it's not the case. So these are kind of our stepping stones into making Vertical Thoughts a more tangible brand.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that goes. I'll see you a year from now, hopefully. In season 2. Coming next fall.
Bobby Newport.
It's not next fall. It's going to be next spring. Confusing. I get you. Okay, so we'll take a break from some of the business stuff. We'll kind of come back to that. If you are still here, still listening, I appreciate you. I know it's difficult to listen to us not just talk about climbing, but I hope that you're interested in, us and the brand as well. Let's talk about climbing.
Yes.
This was what I thought.
That's why I came
here.
Very,
very good question. What was the first time you thought of yourself as a climber, not just someone who climbs?
I love that question. And can I also say I really like the person who asked it. You're on fire. You go. About the question, though, this really hits home for me because I've talked about it a couple times on previous episodes, but prior to climbing, I never, ever thought of myself as being athletic or being coordinated or being somebody who could do impressive things with my body. I didn't really feel like that was something that I had to offer myself. And I got into climbing, and you probably all remember when you first started climbing, it was not very easy, and it hurt your hands.
Everything.
It hurt your arms,
your
and
ego.
It hurt, your heart. So I first started climbing. I didn't like it very much because I sucked big time, and everybody else I climbed with was really good at it. And then just at one point, I found myself having a great time and doing well. And I was like, oh my gosh, how did I get here? When did this happen, But so I don't really have a moment. The question is kind of more of when did you realize? So I don't really have a moment like that. But when I look back, I remember that time period where it all kind of transitioned. And I remember walking into the gym and people being like, oh, Brooke is here. I was like, oh my God, I have friends here, I remember that time period where I really felt like I was a part of the community and people were wondering if I was coming climbing that night. And where people were high-fiving me when I finished a climb. They're like, that was really cool. So I don't really have a specific moment, but I have a time period, and that time period was very meaningful to me. And I am not a great climber now still, but I consider myself good, and I love where I am. Even if I don't get better than what I am right now, I would love to be in this spot forever.
Yeah, so that's really good. I mean, once you feel like you're knees deep in the community of your local climbing gym, it's hard to not feel like a climber.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you're not a climber, if you know a bunch of climbers,
Yeah.
you're kind of a climber. Sorry, dude. Just saying. Mine actually was very specific because I remember the moment. It was when I opened up the box of my very first pair of climbing shoes that I owned, that I was not renting. For a while when I first started climbing, I was climbing at Hangar 18 Upland, where we're going this week. And I was day passing it. I was going there with my friends who climbed a lot more than I did, who had memberships, and I was using their guest passes, and I was renting shoes, and rental shoes are great. Except that they're not. They're bad. And other than them being terrible, they're great. And so finally, I said to myself, you know what? This is something that I obviously am doing. Like I'm doing it a lot. So we're doing it. And I'm a gear junkie. I mean, when I played soccer, no matter what I did, I was a gear junkie. So like when I got my first pair of climbing shoes, I was like, dude, I'm in this. And I'm pretty sure they were the La Sportiva Tarantula laces. Not the best shoe, a good beginner shoe, I would say. But they were mine. And that's what it was all about. I was like, you know what? Here I am walking in the gym with my own shoes, because that marked a moment in my life when bouldering became like the most accessible that it had ever been, is when I have what I need. I have a pair of shoes and a chalk bag. Mm-hmm. So I now just walked in and started climbing, you know what I mean? Instead of having to go through the process and rent shoes and put on my day pass guest band, I bought a membership, I bought shoes, and I really kind of dove in feet first. When I bought my first pair of good shoes, no offense to the La Sportiva Tarantula laces, but I bought my first pair of 510 moccasins, not the ones up on the wall. Those are like my fourth pair. I bought my first pair of moccasins, and I put them on, and that was kind of like another new level of climbing for me when I really started to take it seriously. So I guess it's just all about gear with me. I don't know, call me shallow or whatever. But yeah, when I bought my first pair of climbing shoes was really when I felt like a climber.
Mm-hmm. And of course, Liam is shallow. Look at who he's with.
I was itching my nose profusely while you were saying that. I was behind the mic. My nose itches a lot. Show must go on, dude. Here we are, yeah. Cat hair, probably. Who knows? Okay, let's move on to another question. That's a good one, though. Another climbing question. How often do you climb, and how often should you rest? It's a good question. So Brooke right now is slightly injured again. So she climbs 0 right now.
Woo.
0 times per whatever. My like on again, off again schedule, when I'm really like on my schedule, when I'm good about it, is basically 3 times a week. I climb roughly 3 times a week. For a while I was doing Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday. So, maybe 4 times a week. Right now I would say it averages about 3 times a week. A lot of pros will tell you not to do consecutive days. There's interviews with pro climbers talking about training or climbing, and a lot of it is climbing is very hard on your body. It's hard on your skin, hard on your fingers, tendons. Your injury prevention just tanks through the floor when you start doing consecutive days over and over again. You should never be training, 3 days in a row, anything like that. I think the kind of the most consistent answer that I can give for that is with how often should you rest. Just a day on, a day off never hurt anybody. Mm-hmm. Climb for a day, rest for a day, climb for a day, rest for a day. If you take 2 days on climbing, you don't have to rest necessarily for 2 days, but make sure you give yourself at least that day to really come back and let your body recuperate. Because remember, your body internally, in order to build itself up and get stronger, has to break itself down first. So you need time to recuperate and recover. And also remember this very important, climbing is an anaerobic sport. So you build lactic acid, you strain your muscles, you don't take in more oxygen as you're doing it though. So your body does need some time to recover from that because it's rough. It's hard on your body. So really that's my answer. Just at least take a day of rest in between, climbing days. If you have a schedule that you're on that speaks differently to that, 1 or 2 days on. I always have struggled though with the idea of doing more than 2 days on. I think that you are kind of just asking to be injured at that point if you're climbing for 3+ consecutive days, especially if you're pushing yourself. If you're on like a plan where you're doing, relatively easy or relatively soft climbing for 3 days in a row, that's fine. Just build some endurance or something like that. But training or like hard projecting climbing sessions, 2 in a row is my max. And 2 in a row is the max that I would recommend to anyone. So
yeah, I have to agree. I've never, I don't think at least done more than 2 days on. If I did, one of them was very light.
Yeah, I mean, it even affects your performance. And for me, it affects my ego, my mentality. If I like that second day, sometimes I just don't climb well at all.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I guess I suck.
Yeah, I don't think
Cool.
I've ever done 3 in a row. But like I said, if I did ever, the third was really light. But we definitely do 2 days in a row sometimes. Like you said, we used to do Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Sunday. So, then the Sunday, Monday was our 2 days in a row. But, but we always make sure we get our rest. We also don't really have a choice but to get rest because we work so much. But, if we didn't, I still would make it a point to rest. And that doesn't mean you can't do like physical activity on your rest days. It's a rock climbing rest day. Yeah. So if you want to like go for a jog or go for a walk, I don't know, something like that.
I would even encourage that.
Yeah.
Be physical on your rest day, but just don't
move.
Don't pull on your fingers or your hand. You know what I mean?
Move around on your rest day, but don't hurt yourself.
Yeah. So that's kind of my final answer. If someone asked me what the ideal ratio of climbing to resting is, 1 day on, 1 day off. If you're crazy about it, you know what I mean? If you love climbing, you really want to get good, day on, day off, do it. I mean, 2 days on never made the difference between making the Olympics or not. I hate to say that because I'm not training for the Olympics and, maybe I don't really know, but I really don't think it comes down to those consecutive days of pushing yourself and pushing your body like that. Try and rest, rest frequently, rest often. I find that I send the hardest and I push my grades when I rest effectively. And that comes down into even like a micromanagement of yourself during your climbing session. Don't just shotgun attempts at a climb, fall off, get back on, fall off, get right back on. Rest between attempts. Always rest. Climbing, like I said, anaerobic. Take a second, catch your breath, up your oxygen intake. You know what I mean? Be conscious of what your body's telling you while climbing even, and also on your rest days.
Yeah. And for people that don't have like a lot of climbing friends or experienced climbers around you, when you're doing a climbing session, it's a little bit of a longer one, like you're really trying to work on stuff, you always do a first burn. So it means like when you totally like tire out your arms and you like can't go anymore, usually doesn't take too long for me.
Same.
Yep. You do your first burn and then you rest for like 20 minutes, have some water, go on your phone, you do whatever, talk to a couple people, like 20 to 30, and then you get back on. That's when you really work hard. I didn't know that as a beginner, and I feel like it took me a little bit longer than it should have to learn something that to me now is so obvious. It's just what I do every time. I just want to make sure to mention that. I wish I knew it earlier.
Yeah. Very consistently, my strongest climbing moments and climbing sessions have been after that first burn of warming up and pumping a little bit and then relaxing and resting, because then I'm warm and my muscles are loose, and I'm stretched and I'm ready to go, but I'm not tired because I haven't pushed myself that far yet. I had a strange conversation. To me, it was very strange recently with some people in my local climbing gym who, it was like a group of like 5 people, myself included, and it felt like all 4 of the other people were advocating against they were advocating against they were advocating against warming up properly. And I'm not like calling those people out or anything, but more or less the conversation we were having was, one person went like, oh, I'm going to warm up on this hard climb. And they did. And then I was like, stop, you're going to hurt yourself. And then everyone was like, no, I mean, I guess now that I think about it, when I don't warm up, that's when I send the hardest. I feel like it's not. I mean, I don't know like you specifically, but like the main thing also that you have to think about is like the elasticity of your tendons when they're cold. I don't want to put this visual into your head, but let's say your tendons are cold and you pull on them really, really hard. we're gonna snap. Let's say they're warm and you pull on them really, really hard. They warm themselves up.
Yeah.
They stretch a little better. They're more malleable. It is much easier to hurt yourself when you're not properly warmed up. So I encourage you, even when you're not resting, when you're climbing, warm up. I know sometimes you think, oh, I have the most energy right now because I just got here, or I don't know, I ran to the gym or biked to the gym, so my body's warm. I'm going to get on the wall and start projecting right away. Don't do it. It's not worth it. Even if, you feel like it's a mental roadblock, change your mental state. Like recenter yourself into a proper routine, warming up, resting, then projecting. Don't just start pulling on all the hardest stuff right away.
What I do specifically, like for each session, is I get there, I climb easy climbs for like 10 to 15, get really warm. I'll stretch for probably longer than anybody else does. I know, Liam, sometimes like you're spending a whole session stretching. What are you doing? Yeah. So maybe you don't have to stretch as long as I do, but I climb for like 10 to 15. I stretch for a while. I make sure to open up my shoulders really well. And then I do like that first burn. I don't rest after I stretch. Like I have to get right back to it so I don't cool down too much. I do that first burn. Like I'll climb really hard. Nothing like, no projects, but like something challenging still. That might take me like a couple tries, but not the whole session. I'll like burn out. I rest for 20 to 30. And then I go back. I kind of do like a little bit of a warm up just to, because your muscles cool down after that, but just like 5 minutes, like do something easy. And then that's when I start working on my project. That's when I feel like I'm ready to really go for something right now and do something I've never done.
Yeah. There's no sense in pushing yourself to be quick when you're at the climbing gym. You're just going to cause injuries. And again, I'm not putting those people on blast or anything. I think more than anything, it was just kind of a funny conversation we were having about like the irony basically of sending hard when you're not warmed up, but
yeah,
warm up.
I certainly know many people that don't warm up, like not just in climbing, but in general.
Yeah.
I've met a lot of people throughout my life that are like, it's a waste of time.
Yeah. And those people always say, well, I've never gotten hurt. And that's kind of a funny principle. I've never been hit by a car. I don't run through the street though. Why tempt fate in that kind of way? Or like I work in the automotive industry and specifically at an automotive repair and tire shop. And I always tell people don't use Fix-A-Flat. And people are always like, I use Fix-A-Flat on my last set of tires or my last tire and it lasted 4 years and I had 0 problems. And I'm like, cool. It works 50% of the time. You got on the right half of that 50% this time. What happens when you don't? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Have you ever seen a tire blow on the freeway?
Or if you,
it is not,
it's bad.
It's a mess.
Yeah. Or if you happen to be a tire technician and
so
you've
dangerous.
ever, dismounted a tire from a wheel and seen what Fix-A-Flat does to the inside of a tire. I mean, it's disgusting. Anyways,
Can I say something unrelated real quick?
Sure. Why not?
So I work in automotive service as well. I also work in emergency medicine, but I work in an automotive service. And very recently, somebody came in and the person's car had like a giant gash in the tire. Not like a nail in the tire, but a gash. It just didn't go all the way through, but it was super dangerous. Like this tire is going to blow. And so we told the person, this needs to be replaced. And she would not do it. She screamed and yelled at us, I will not buy your tire. I don't need a new tire. This tire is great. We said, no, this is really dangerous. You don't have to buy it here. Like, we're not trying to take your money. We just don't want you to die or other people.
Yeah, buy a new tire somewhere.
And just anywhere, please. And she said, no, that she would do it with crazy glue, that she would fix this long gash with crazy glue, and that's how she does everything, and it all works. And if you live in the Temecula-Murrieta area, please be on the lookout
for crazy glue tires.
For the crazy glue tire, because she's a hazard.
Can't crazy glue your tendons, so you can't crazy glue a tire either. So
no,
none of this is applicable.
I am so afraid.
Yeah, so warm up. Be prepared. Ignorance really is bliss. You know what I mean? You feel...
She's happy. Yeah, she feels great. She feels
fine.
like she saved money and now she's safe and she has a good tire.
Yeah.
So
you feel fine until you don't.
Yep.
But try not to get to that point if you can.
Oh, yeah.
Anyways.
Sorry for that. I just had to get it out.
Yeah. So some more interesting questions here. Here's a good one from a friend of ours. She asks, when are those fur babies going to start sending? And let me tell you, if anyone out there knows how to train cats to climb, hit me up. I will pay you.
Yeah, what do you want?
Yeah.
We'll do it.
Besides the cats.
Yeah, you can't have them.
Yeah, we need those because you got to train them to climb, and then they're going to be our crag cats, and then we're going to start their own Instagram, and the algorithm will choose us to be famous because they're climbing cats.
Yeah, how could you not choose that?
Seems pretty cool. Seems like a pretty cool idea. Right now, our cats are only, exclusively indoor cats. So maybe if I build a home wall and it's inside, maybe they'll get on that a little bit. The cats are perfectly capable of rock climbing. Yeah. Way more capable than we are.
They're capable of a lot of things.
Frankly, I probably can't let them start climbing because it'll challenge my ego, because then my cat daughters are going to be out sending me in like a week. But that'd be pretty cool.
So our cat that you have met before, Layla, I don't think she will ever be a crag cat.
No, unfortunately not.
Yeah, we have spoiled her too much. She cannot handle the outdoors. She can't handle the car. She can't handle anything that's not completely mellow and happy.
Yeah.
Our small one, though, her name is Serena the Ice Princess. I don't think she's ever been on camera here because she's a little bit too rowdy, so we usually put her away. But you've probably seen her on our social media, like on Facebook or Instagram. I think we posted a picture of her when we first got her. Mm-hmm. She is small. Therefore, there is hope on us shaping who she will become.
Yes.
So we can take her outdoors a little bit more, get her used to it. There is potential for crag cat in the future.
We will heavily influence her in that direction.
Yes, we are working on it.
Yes.
Potential crag cat to come.
Okay. Moving forward here, just a couple more, and then we'll wrap things up for today. What skill or knowledge do you have that will probably save your life someday? Brooke. My skill or knowledge is Brooke. She will probably save my life someday.
I will. I already have.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Did you guys know Liam used to use water bottles? Like he bought packages of water bottles.
Highly trending towards death.
Yeah.
As we know, water bottles do kill.
He wouldn't be here if it wasn't for me.
Not only did they harm the ocean and the baby sea turtles, but the drinkers. Yeah.
The plastic kills.
Yeah.
It doesn't, but yeah, plastic is super unhealthy. And I remember when I first started dating Liam, I was absolutely crazy about him. And I really, really tried to hide it because I feel like it was way too much. And then I saw the water bottles and I was like, oh my God.
Finally a flaw.
Whew.
Yeah.
We're going to be okay. He's flawed.
He uses water bottles. I was pumping through them too at a pretty insane.
He sure
I don't know.
was.
I was raised on water bottles, I guess.
Yeah, and you can't, it helps sometimes, like the habits that you build. You just suddenly realize you have a habit and you're like, when did this start? Oh, I think forever,
Yeah.
Why are we talking about this?
I don't know. I thought you knew.
What was the question?
What's the weird skill or knowledge you have that will save your life?
Oh, and you said me, and I was yeah, I saved him from water bottles. You may answer the question for real now if you'd like.
That was my answer. You're going to be a doctor, and someday you'll save my life.
Liam does have real skills that are extremely useful.
Well, I mean, I'm an Eagle Scout.
So. Exactly. So I'd like share a little bit. How could you save your life in a hard situation or mine?
Do you think I'm the first person to do the Scout's honor and then dab with it?
No.
Seriously?
Seriously.
Or is that the new Boy Scout thing? Or they're like just 12-year-olds at every Scout meeting?
Well, it's the new 12-year-old thing.
Yeah.
They're dabbing like nobody's business.
Yeah, they do.
And so any of them that are Eagle Scout, or I don't know, you can't be that young to be an Eagle Scout.
Not 12, no.
But
sure.
You know where I'm going. They're on the path, whatever. They're Boy Scouts. It must have happened several times by now.
Let's call this the first official live Eagle Scout dab.
Liam's the first.
But just all that, I guess, you have wilderness survival training as part of Boy Scouts. So lots of skills and knowledge that I could call upon if I needed to in that situation. I'm not like ultimate wilderness survival guy. Trust me. I would have to like recall most of that information. I don't just have it on lock. I don't think about it all the time. But yeah, there's lots of skills that the Boy Scout program taught me that would be necessary should I be in a life-threatening situation someday. So
Yeah.
I don't have like one specific, like, oh, I've been doing sutures for 15 years now, man. I can suture anything. Cut it up, I'll suture it back together. Nothing like that. It's like nothing specific, but I can't do sutures, by the way, just to be clear on that. I am, a Boy Scout, but no, I'm not going to sew up your wound. That's gross.
I can do that. That's fine.
That's my special skill.
So yeah, I didn't have like one specific thing that stood out to me. The question was like really exciting for me, but no like one specific answer jumped out. But I did go two different ways with this. I went to really impractical situations, like stranded on a desert island, in an apocalypse.
Sure.
Those types of things, and I went down like the real world path, like stuff that I really will use often. Like I said, I work in emergency medicine, so I bring a lot of skills like that to the table. I do have a degree in biology as well, which is less useful as far as like surviving, but I understand illness and bacteria and just like the world, the like biological world as a whole, like plants and animals and stuff and how all that works. So like stranded on a desert island, I feel like that's useful. Apocalyptic type things, like if it were a viral apocalypse, something like that, like I feel like that's a skill I could bring to the table. I understand the world around us that you cannot see, the world that we are covered in all the time, everywhere, every surface, the bacterial and viral world.
Gross.
So I did like a lot of research in college about bacteria. I made a new bacterial species. So I feel
Congrats.
like if it were that type of apocalypse, maybe I could, I don't know, help or just survive at least.
Sure.
try to just survive first. And then like real life stuff, I can do CPR and I can do sutures. It's not something I do in the emergency room, but something I know how to do, like something they've let me practice. I can do stuff like that. And I know a little bit about cars, so, and of course Liam does too. So if we got stranded, like, Liam and I can jump cars and change tires and.
Yeah, generally not life-threatening.
Yeah. But it could be like if you're
question's
in a
broad.
blizzard,
Yeah. Well, and if someone just put a gun to my head
and they said,
were like,
change my tire.
quick, without thinking, what are 3 Italian automotive manufacturers? Dude, Alfa Romeo, Lamborghini, Ferrari. Get off me, son.
Life saved.
Yeah, some quick car trivia. Someone comes and puts a gun to Brooke's head, and who invented the assembly line? I'm like, dude, Henry Ford. Are you even Henry Ford? What is Henry Ford, please, for 500? And he couldn't kill you. He couldn't. I saved your life.
Yeah, this is Liam's strength and not mine.
Yeah, useless car trivia. Ask me car questions or climbing questions for that matter. Whatever, dude. Mostly car questions. Climbing, I'm good with climbing trivia, but you watch the history of climbing video. If you haven't, go watch the history of climbing video on youtube.com/C as in Charlie /vertical thoughts. Watch history of climbing video. It was the first video we posted on there. All those names are so hard to pronounce, my dudes. So like, it's hard to memorize something when you can barely pronounce it.
I loved watching that video. Secondly, because I love climbing, but the number one reason was listening to Liam pronounce all these
we
French
got
names. They're all
names.
French.
Yeah, lots of French. They got the Alps. It's not fair.
I think he did a great job. Even if he sucked, I think he did a great job. I wouldn't know because I don't speak French.
Oh, okay.
I can tell him if he said the names right or not.
The verbiage was important. She said even if he sucked, not even though he sucked.
Yeah, no, even if he sucked, I have no idea.
Conditional, yeah. It was not guaranteed that I
He
sucked.
could have done everything right or everything wrong, and I would have no clue.
Let me know in the comment section if I sucked.
Yeah, if anybody speaks French, please go watch the video. I was intrigued just listening to him make sounds I've never heard him make before.
It's cool. It is what it is. We have 2 more questions today. One of them I'm going to kind of glance over, and I apologize to this person. This is an excellent question. Excuse me. I'm not prepared to answer it today, however. This person asked, what do you think of multi-pitches, and how do you get over the fear of just dangling on anchors? So I can answer one of those questions. What do I think of multi-pitches? I have the utmost respect for people who are big wall climbers and multi-pitch climbers, specifically because of the dangling on anchors thing. I mean, not being on the ground for days and days and weeks, in some cases, even hours for me, is mind-boggling. I have reached out to some renowned big wall climbers. I won't drop any names just now, but I've reached out to them for their input and help answering this question. So I promise, if you were the one who asked this question, I will address this question on the show. I'm doing some research though, and maybe I can get some big wall climbers in here into the studio to talk with me about that a little bit. But multi-pitch, awesome. Maybe not for me. It's just not the style of climbing or the kind of climbing that interests me the most. I have maybe a shorter attention span. So bouldering is perfect for someone like me because it's, quick, unsustained, powerful movement that doesn't last 27 days or whatever, So while I do think that would be an awesome experience, and while I think at some point I probably will experience it, neither Brooke or myself, we don't multi-pitch climb. So, we're not necessarily qualified to answer that.
I know. I read that question and I loved the question, and I was
great question.
Perplexed by it.
Yeah,
and I cannot answer that. I'm so sorry.
Maybe a better climbing podcast could answer. No, I this is what I do. You know what I mean? I'm not the master of all things climbing. However, I am good at networking. I'm good at reaching out to people. So I've reached out to some people who are going to have the right answers to your question. So thank you for submitting that question. I promise there will be an answer.
Yeah. Yeah, and I would absolutely love to do that at some point. And I think later in our lives, when we have more spare time and more money, we're working less and making more, that's something I would love to experience. I've never done lead climbing. Well, I did one time, but I've never really learned about it and consistently grew in that aspect of climbing. So I would love to work on that in the future. And then if we could do a multi-pitch, I mean, we're at a 9 out of 10 in relationship goals. We could be a 9.5,
we could be 10 out of 10. Alex and Sonny got nothing on us, dude.
San?
Yeah.
Love you, San. And you guys watch that movie?
They watched the movie.
Of course they watched the movie. That was a rhetorical question.
You guys know Alex Honnold?
Best climber of the world. I love when non-climbers say, "Did you see that one movie where that guy climbed without ropes?" And I'm like, "Which guy?"
You just look him dead in the face and you say, "Don't you ever come at me with that Gumby trash again."
Oh, don't reference that person.
Gumby trash. Say that to your friends that are non-climbers. They'll love it. They will understand and love it and respect you more for it.
Okay, but what I wanted to say about Free Solo was the movie kind of built up their relationship a little bit, where Sonny was really strong and maybe Alex wasn't. They kind of made you think about it. And then at the end they and which I'm sure Alex loved Sonny the whole time, but if you don't know them and all you know about them is this movie, at the very end, after he finishes climbing, he calls her and he says, "I love you, San," and he they kind of built it up as maybe we didn't know if he loved her or not, right, the whole movie.
Yeah.
And so he says it at the end, and I was like,
maybe that was the first time he said it. We have no
I guess
way
it
of
could be,
yeah.
but I don't think so.
Yeah, there was, the video was built very specifically so that there was an obstacle in between their relationship. Mm-hmm. A 3,000 foot granite monolith, to be specific. So,
and whether it was true or not, I liked it. I was along for the ride. Way.
Yeah, Nat Geo definitely knows what they're doing.
For real.
So, moving forward to our last question here. This was a good one too. So, I saved this one for last very specifically because I want to take this one in 2 directions. someone reached out and said, if you had the opportunity to, in air quotes, go pro in climbing, would you? It's a good question. The question that I thought about a lot when I started climbing, when I started to get into the advanced climbing category, even more recently. I love the idea of that. Being a professional climber, to me, would mean that I achieved my wildest goals and then achieved, far, far beyond them. I think that it is not realistic for me. What I mean by that is that it's not necessarily a goal of mine to become a professional climber, because one, I don't think that the life is for me. I don't think that the life of a professional athlete is one that really works with the way I am. I'm a very grounded person. I like to set my roots down in things and have consistency in my life. And while I am adventurous and I am spontaneous and I enjoy traveling and that kind of thing, I'm not the kind of person that could just travel all the time. I need to have a foundation with which to build myself upon. A lot of who I am is my life. It's the people that I'm with. It's the things that I'm doing. Those become me. Those become what hold me up. We build pyramids, and so that's me at the tip of the pyramid, and everything that I do and everything that I am forms the base. And I need that solid foundation in order to function and to achieve my maximum potential and happiness. And happiness is really the most important thing. I mean, some people will put success before happiness, and I think that's a mistake. I think some people think that success is all there is and that with success will come happiness. And I promise you that is not true. That's not how it works. Just because you're successful does not mean you're happy. And success actually has been proven in a lot of different psychological studies, and I won't cite any, but you can go look into this yourself. But wild success has been linked actually to lots of different kinds of mental health issues, depression, anxiety, even things uncovered like high suicide rates. I mean, the people that are at the top of our society face problems proportional to where they are. So remember, the bigger you are, the harder you fall, but also more money, more problems. As many cliches as you can come up with about this. I mean, they're all true, or at least I don't know for sure, but I'm sure they all have some kind of resonance with this topic, which is that, if I was the best or if I was in the upper echelon of climbing, I think that it would put me in an unhealthy state of mind. And that's not to say that I think professional climbers are like that at all. But they are people that are built differently mentally. They have different kinds of mental fortitude where they're able to do that and live that life that I sometimes wish that I could. But I don't think that life is for me.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my thoughts on that. Would I like to? Or, his question was specifically, if you were given the opportunity to, would you? And that's difficult, because you're putting me in a situation where, let's say I am good enough to become a pro climber. And if I had the opportunity, yes, I'd probably take it. I probably would. I don't necessarily know if it would end well. I don't want to be foreboding about it or anything like that. But if I was good enough and if I received the opportunity to become a professional climber, I'm passionate about the sport and I love the sport enough that I would say yes.
Yeah. And I think if I really put myself in that moment or that time period with Liam as a professional climber.
She's closing her eyes right now.
I am.
Really sink herself
really
into
felt it.
Yeah. She's incepting the moment.
Obviously I picture it later on. He's not there right now, so I picture us with a family. And so I picture him half in, half out. As much as he loves the sport, I imagine him being yeah, I'll do that competition, and then being oh, well, this one I think I'll pass on. And I'd be there for him 100%, whatever he wanted to do, and we would go where we needed to go. But like he says, just his personality to be grounded and be at home. So I don't think it'd fit him too well.
Yeah. With that being said, it is a big part of my goals to be a professional within the climbing space. And what I mean by that is on this side of things, on the media side of things. If I could, we talked about this a little bit earlier, but if I could do what I do now, and bring the climbing community together. If I could do this for a living, and I could climbing outreach and community and content, audio, video, any of it. If I could do what I do right now as a hobby for a living, I would jump at the opportunity. I love climbing. I love the community. I love the culture. It's what I'm here for. It's what I believe qualifies me to be your host of this show is just that I will challenge anyone to be more passionate than I am about the sport of climbing. And that includes people who do it a lot more than I do, or people who know a lot more about it than I do. You know what I mean? Because passion is not a tangible thing where you can be like, well, I've been climbing for, 20 years, so I'm obviously more passionate than this guy who runs this show. I challenge you to a duel, and I'm thinking quick draws at 25 paces, frankly. We will engage in fisticuffs upon the face of El Capitan as our brothers, the pioneers of climbing, used to. Anyways, what I'm saying is I love this sport. I love it. It's a huge part of who I am. Nature even and the outdoors are also a huge part of who I am. But just the way I feel on the wall is different than anything's ever made me feel. And I've never lost that feeling. I've been climbing for a long time. And I've never lost that feeling. Climbing still provides to me all the same benefits that it did the first day I started doing it. It's the most consistent thing in my life other than the relationships that I have or the home that I have or, the love that I have for the people in my life. Climbing is a close second, and it's very important to me. And if I could do climbing professionally, not necessarily on the wall, but if I could work in the climbing space professionally, I would jump at the opportunity.
Oh yeah.
And that's where I would really love and aim to be.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. For me, I have really specific goals and aspirations for my life and some things that I really need to feel like I made it. And that's not anything monetary or anything physical, but I want to serve people, and I want that to be the center of my life, and I want to do that in the healthcare field. I feel like it's something I could really be a big part of and help make better. Healthcare in our country is great, and it could be a whole lot better. So I don't really want to spend my time doing anything else, at least the bulk of my time. I always want to climb. I always want to spend time with family. But if I spent all my time doing something like this, or like running a company in climbing, like say we did like, shoes and gear, and, we did the podcast and we did like social media stuff. Or if I was a pro climber, which I don't think I'll ever be, I think I'll get a lot better in climbing than I am right now, but I don't think I'll ever be a pro climber. But just speaking hypothetically, if I ever had the opportunity to do that as a career, I don't think that I would take it. I feel like I'd have something missing, like there was something bigger I had to offer the world. Not that one is more important than the other, but just what I had. I feel like I have more in the service of people and in the medical field than I would have for climbing. So I'll leave the climbing space open to someone who would do it better.
Yes, it's an excellent question. And I think if you toss that question out at your local gym, I think a lot of people will probably answer before going too deep into the thought. But there's a lot involved in that. And I really respect what professional climbers do and the amount of time and effort that they put into what they do. Being a professional climber is not easy. Getting to that level is not easy. But maintaining that is incredible. And so the people that do it, I have the utmost respect for.
Definitely.
And we've had the pleasure of meeting with and talking with some of them here in the studio even. And the more people like that I get to meet, the further that my respect will develop and flourish for those kinds of people. It's an amazing thing, really is. Being one of the best at something is a phenomenal and amazing thing. And I think we blow that into proportion too often. In other words, we need to be focused on a bigger picture and think about we're part of a time right now where climbing is progressing in such a way that's going to go down in the history books of rock climbing. This is the first rock climbing Olympics. My history of rock climbing video 10 years from now would include this, and this would be like a huge apex for the sport of climbing. So it's a very exciting time for climbing right now. And that shows through our viewership and through the community that we're building. And I want to thank again, each and every one of you who listens to this, whether or not you know me in person. Thank you so much for tuning into this and for supporting us. It's been a lot of fun. It's not slowing down. We're only gaining momentum. We're just getting started. So I'm very excited to see where it goes. You guys can always throw these questions at us and we'll answer them on the show.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Just want to throw that out there. This was a special question and answer episode, and we may or may not do more of these depending on how it's received, but I hope you enjoyed it nonetheless. And anytime you have a question about us, the show, climbing, anything, just let us know. Just hit us in the comments or shoot us a DM. We're happy to answer these questions for you. Brooke, any final thoughts? Did you hear how loud my ankle just cracked right now?
I did, yeah.
Echoed, I think. Wow.
I wish my ankles would do that. They're too broken for me to
sure
try
you
to
didn't
crack
try?
them
Yeah,
or anything. I just try to be as gentle with them as I can.
I just moved gingerly and just...
I do have a quick question. It's like a 1 or 2 word answer.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a favorite professional climber? Like someone that just like you get really excited about?
That's a good question.
I'm sure there are a lot, but
it would have been really funny and also realistically probably great for viewership if you were just like, are you cheating on me? I started bringing up evidence.
And then he got weird.
No. Line. Phone a friend. Nick, what do I say? Hear that, Nick? You're my
Nick,
phone a
help
friend.
him.
Yeah. I don't have a favorite professional climber. I'm bad at favorites. First of all, I love so many different things so like wholly and profusely that I can never pick favorites. Yeah. I have several favorites. If you ask me who my top 10 favorite climbers are.
The reason I asked you is because I knew that you would have so many climbers that went through your head immediately when I asked it. And I was wondering if you would have, if you could even say one.
No, I cannot narrow it down to like a favorite professional climber.
Well, I can. I wouldn't really call her a favorite because I'm similar to you. Like a bunch of names go through my head and I get really excited about that question and also like overwhelmed by it. Like I couldn't answer it. But just when I think of like a big name climber who just like really sparks joy and excitement.
Ashima.
Yes, you knew.
I knew it.
I get stoked about Ashima. Even when she's not talking about climbing, not posting about climbing, she posts a selfie of her just like standing on the sidewalk. I'm like, oh my God, Ashima made a post today.
Everything she does it so well. She's so good at it.
So good. She's so cute. If you don't know who we're talking about, just
who Ashima is.
Type. Well, not everybody does, like
Ashima Shiraishi.
It could be a newer climber.
Ninja warrior princess.
Yes. Just type in.
Is that what it was called?
Okay, hold on.
It's a very old Real Rock bit that's called something like that.
If you just search on Instagram, Ashima, you'd find her.
Yeah.
But if you want to know, if you want to be sure about like if you're looking for her, go on my Instagram, click on following, and then type in Ashima. She'll be there.
Yeah. We're big Ashima fans. She's phenomenal. She always has been. I mean, she's been.
Go on YouTube too and type in Ashima
6
climbing.
years old, 10 years old.
Yeah.
8 years. She's been crushing it for a long time.
Killing the freaking game when she was like 7.
Extremely
now she's
good.
What, like 17 or 18?
She's 18, I think.
18.
Maybe 19 now.
But for like 10 years.
Crushing it.
Just been, not even fair, but so cool.
We're huge Ashima fans, for sure. Very strong.
I went a little crazy with that answer. Just the fact that you knew what I was going to answer made me really excited.
I've heard you talk. Yeah,
I've heard you talk.
It's like one of those memes where it's like nobody, and then it says nothing, and then it says me. It's like that's how it is, but it's like Ashima does nothing. Brooke, oh my God, Ashima's the best. Everything she does, she's the best climber I've ever seen. No, truly, we're huge fans. If you're listening to this, Ms. Shiraishi, we would love to have you on the show.
Yeah, and I can't come.
Reserved for you. Brooke will be melting upstairs. Can't
come. I'll be locked away in a room watching on my phone.
Watching live. Yeah, there you go.
No, I'll be here and I'll be...
Cool. It's a good question for the viewers. Who is your favorite climber and why? And why is it Ashima?
Why is it Ashima?
But yeah, with that, we're gonna wrap things up for today. I hope you guys have enjoyed a little bit of change of pace. You know, doing things a little bit differently. We're still trying new things out. I'm looking forward to the end of season 1 and giving us 3 months again to work on a lot of new stuff. And mostly, I'm looking forward to coming back stronger and bigger than ever with season 2, with some positive changes. So I will see, hopefully, some of you this Wednesday, the 24th. If you're listening after Wednesday, the 24th, don't worry. There's going to be more events that we're at. If you want to stay up to date with us, make sure you follow us on Instagram at vertical.thoughts. And you can stay up to date with what events we're going to be at.
Absolutely. Thanks for tuning in. And thanks for...
Are you trying to play footsies with me?
Yeah.
Good sir.
I thought maybe I could.
I will not engage in your inappropriosities
Oh, wow.
in front of a live audience. I'm sorry you all had to hear and see that.
Well, we're going to fight now.
Thanks
for tuning in.
Yep.
Thanks for being a part of the climbing community. We love you. We'll see you next time.
Ashima's overrated.
Oh, he's going to get it.
She's not overrated. She's the best. We love you, Ashima.
Go. Cut.
Come on the show. Saving a spot for you. We're huge fans. Bye, Ashima.